Hello, I'm Jonathan Moss.
And I'm Kyle Roth.
And welcome to GoldenCrab's second monthly news video. You might notice, it's my colleague, the other guy, the guy who's technically, I guess, the leader of our two-person team. He's been visiting, and we've been doing quite a lot. Not actually too much, but getting a bit more reorganized, doing things. And of course, because he's on camera, I should let him say a few words.
Well, thank you. Yeah, as far as I've been here, I've been keeping pretty well on task as far as productivity, which surprised me. I didn't expect that. I've also started looking into a new host for our website, something that will actually work. I think I have a lead with SiteGround, and if anyone watching this has any bad stories with them, please speak up now before we get too far into it.
Yeah, it's been about, 2 months of a site that practically doesn't work. I know we don't have very good resources at the moment, but it's kind of bad, isn't it?
We should have better than what we have. That's the idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's mostly been kind of like a vacation. It's not really been like a work sort of ordeal here with him here. It's more like a morale boost, like I said in the previous video. And as this video shows, he is here, so, yeah. I don't know if there was anything else you had on your mind aside from, I mean, you've been squashing bugs and fixing things and looking up websites and all that type of thing, so...
One other noteworthy thing, I suppose, once this trip is over, I still have one more bit of travel ahead of me. And that one, I really expect things to slow down on my end for a bit. What that mostly means is that as far as getting the site set to a new host, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We want to take advantage of that just in case it doesn't work out like we expected to. So we can't start that until I get back from the other trip. Mm-hmm. So that just means that there's going to be a bit of a delay with getting the site going. Hopefully that'll be done as soon as possible. Depending on how this video goes, it might be very shortly after people start watching it.
Yeah, he'll get back just a little bit after this video goes up. And yeah, so it'll be about early June kind of stuff. Hopefully we can get our game released late June or early July. You know, dates change. Again, I'm not making promises because of all that. I did say in the previous video, hopefully June, but still no promised date. That'll come up in a later video if we set a date. Anyway, yeah, that's about that for news for May.
We'll give it our best to get that date as soon as we can manage it.
Anyway, for the rest of this video, I'm going to be actually going through a little bit of the history of Great Gun Gauntlet. Just, I don't know, just to put something in this video. Also, yep, bye. Yep, he's gone. Anyway, yeah, I'll cut away to some clips of the old versions of the game and some screenshots. We can go through some history. So that'd be pretty neat. Anyway, yeah, see you in those next clips. And here I am, as promised in that previous clip, going over the history of Great Gun Gauntlet. Great Gun Gauntlet started in September of 2015 when me and Kyle realized our current games weren't really going anywhere anytime soon. We needed something simple, something we could practice with, or something we could add to as we please and stop when we please. And due to the simplicity of the concept, it worked out really well in our favor. We have developed it a lot longer than expected. However, that just means we've been able to practice with many more things than we initially did, and I've been able to learn a bit of music, a bit of Blender for 3D modeling, a bit of sound creation, a bit of animating, and many other things such as that, while Kyle has been able to get his bearings straight with things such as our collision engine that we've been working on in Unity. No matter how long of development it was still good practice through and through. And, as you see here, it started as such a simple little thing. Just the concept from this little piece of paper sitting on my desk. Yes, I have a little notebook, which I sometimes write down things I need to remember. And one night, while brainstorming on a little idea we could develop, I made this little sketch here. Which, even as cruddy as it is, does have a good bit of resemblance to what the actual game ended up being. You can see a single-room hardcore arcade, 3 belts, dodge bullets and boxes. And this is actually where the name Great Gun Gauntlet came from in the initial creation of it. And even though the game has a heavier focus on things such as boxes and spinners than guns and turrets nowadays, it is still in its core the Great Gun Gauntlet. After writing that down, going to bed, and then waking up in the morning, I finally told Kyle about the idea. We agreed that if I got enough concept art drawn up, that we could go ahead and start making the game. And as you can see, the concept art really looks just bad. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you can tell the game has come a long way. Even not having shown the menus off publicly, I can tell you the menus look a lot better now than they did in these concept ideas. Also, I guess one last note about the concept art was a lot of it had a bunch of text that would go along with it. There's a large text file where I explain all the different bits and pieces of the game to Kyle to pitch the idea to him. Either way, he liked the idea and we went ahead and started developing it. The start of development, of course, was very simple. Things such as controls, adding the basic room walls, a lot of very basic boxes and turrets. Eventually started adding things such as textures to the walls. An interesting thing to note about the textures and the walls at this point was I had not learned anything about Blender. At this point I was using things just out of Unity, and anybody who's ever worked with Unity would certainly know that Unity is not a 3D modeling engine at all. Pretty much you just have things such as flat faces and cutout textures to work with when you're doing things like that. So because of that, the game did not look very good and did not run very good for a good long while until I eventually actually went ahead and put together Blender modeled things. Even the first turrets and the first player model were not actually Blender made. They were just that same old cutout Unity system of modeling. Another thing you may note about the early game was how long it took the player to get a model, and also how things such as bullets actually originally tried to use lights instead of just a blur texture around them. I eventually switched that out as it was horribly inefficient. I was just curious about it, and as I expected, it did not work out very well. And another thing that's funny is once the player finally got a model, for a short while the laser was using the player's old texture. Aside from that, the graphical look accelerated quite nicely once everything was converted to Blender, up until it eventually peaked at similar to what you see in the game right now. At one point, eventually, the graphics just slowly refined, things got improved. But otherwise, generally, everything's about the same for the last month or so graphically as it's always been. Even then, since the teaser trailer, we've added things such as anti-aliasing and improving several particle systems to both be more efficient and look nicer, along with improving some issues with the lasers graphics and other such things in the game. Aside from that, there's also the graphical side of Kyle getting the menus to actually work so that we can have graphical settings for those who want to play the game but have poorer computers than us. Aside from graphical things, a lot of the refinement has been in both the way the pattern system we use to make things flow in different ways works, along with a lot of the work that's gone into it has been making sure the physics actually work right, because the game is so extremely fast-paced. A physics engine is really hard to work with for your first time, so that's a lot on Kyle to work with, and he's doing an amazing job slowly refining the physics engine. Both on engine side and graphical side, in my opinion, this game looks pretty good for our first attempt. There's plenty of things we could do way better in the future, but for now I think I'm practically satisfied with how it looks. Speaking of the future, we have a few last little bonus things, as we've talked about how the development has gone through its course of becoming a bigger and bigger game for us. There's also what we want to do in the future. Here I have a little personal booklet. Usually I just write before bed if I have things that are on my mind, but for this one there is a page that includes some future concepts I had for more objects in the game. Big thing I want to do for a full release, unlike this demo release we're doing soon, is I want to put a higher focus on the turrets. I've got a couple ideas in my head. I've got a couple ideas written months and months back in this booklet. I also have had ideas about things such as power-ups and stuff like that. Other things that I want to do is add more level types in the full version. This is, of course, stuff that will only come into being if people like Great Gun Gauntlet enough for us to want to finish developing it.
Otherwise, these 6 little example pictures here may never come into fruition if no one really is interested. Otherwise, there is a good likelihood that we would do these 6 rooms instead of just the one. Of course, these are also just concepts, and as you can see, they're very, very basic looking designs showing the direction the conveyors would move. They would probably have to have specific pattern collections for each one of them just so that they all work right and so that there's no impossible moments, which is a big thing that we're trying to work on balancing so that you can never get stuck in a moment you can't get out of. Otherwise, yeah, more characters maybe, more turrets of course, because it is Great Gun Gauntlet, and more rooms to deal with. I guess you could consider them test rooms, because my little lore in my head is that this is a testing facility for some sort of defense robot or something. The gear guy, as I call him. I don't have a real technical name for it, but I really like the character, so whatever. Anyway, enough of that. That's pretty much all I have here, aside from a couple funny screenshots and a couple cruddy quality GIFs of older development funniness, such as glitches and experiments I was doing. Anyway, I'll just let you have fun with those, and see you guys next time on the next news video and or release video and or mid-month video for some reason. I don't know. Have a good day.